All right. How are we? How is everybody? Good? I'm going to try and look at the camera here. My computer's here. My camera's here. Austin's lurking and editing. That's awesome. Paige is doing well. I'm doing well as well. Thank you, Paige. Yeah, there's a few of you in here. There's about 8-9 people in here. I may be one of those people because I have it pulled up on my iPad. So if you ever see me looking down, it's because I'm checking the comments. But yeah, so we're going to go over the new preset pack that I released yesterday on my Patreon membership. Really excited. Jennifer Wax is here. What is going on, Jen? How are you? Very excited for all of you. And even if you're not commenting, totally good. I'm excited you're here. Glad you're here. First things first, I want to make sure. Can you guys hear me okay? Does everything sound all right? Is the music too loud? If it is, let me know. I can turn it down a bit. If my mic is too loud, give me some feedback on tech stuff. That way I can make sure that this looks and sounds okay. So yeah. We're going to dive into it in just a second. Adrian's here. We're going to wait for some people to jump in, some more people to jump in, but probably get started in the next 2 or 3 minutes. But very excited about this. I've been working hard the last couple of weeks to months on music down just a bit. Yep, we can do that. All right, that's down a few decibels. Let me know if that's okay. We'll leave it right about there. Cool. Yeah, I've been working hard the last few months on these presets, and I'm excited to finally release them. It's a big preset pack. There's a lot of presets in here, both pre-made looks that you can apply, and what I like to call freestyle adjustments, freestyle presets, where you can make some micro adjustments over the course of your entire image to design your own look, your own preset. So it's a mix of the two. I know we have some YouTube subscribers in here with a mix of some of my Patreon members. So thank you, Paige, Monica, Jen, for being here from Patreon, and then the rest of you guys are right now from YouTube. So I'm going to tell you guys everything you need to know. Paige, Monica, I don't know, and Jen, I don't know if you guys have used the presets. Jen says, P.S. the presets are so much fun, so that's really exciting to hear. I haven't gotten too much feedback yet from people, so this is the first preset launch I've ever done. So I am completely open to feedback. I want to make sure that these are perfect, as close to perfect as they can be. So if you guys have feedback about the presets, please let me know. I'll tell you how to download them and all that stuff if you're a YouTuber and not one of my Patreon members. Essentially, you become a Patreon member for at least a month to download them, right? So you sign up for Patreon, you can download them instantly. You're welcome to stick around. It's $25 a month right now on Patreon. You'll get access to a whole bunch more stuff, a bunch of goodies over there other than just the presets for $25 a month. If you just want the presets, you're welcome to just grab the presets, hang around for the rest of the month, and then cancel before your build again at the start of the next month. So either way, whatever you decide, but this is the most bang for your buck, essentially. So we'll go into all that later, but let's dive in. Let's dive into to Lightroom here, and I can show you guys everything that you need to know. How's that sound? And if you have any questions about anything other than these presets, totally cool. Let me know. This can be, half a live Q&A and half a, an editing demo. So whatever. All right. So whatever you guys want this to be, I want it to be. Let's just let it flow. So let's look at the sidebar here. All right. My presets are on the left, and the way that this is broken up is into a whole bunch of different sections. There's about 8 sections. And everything below this line you can just ignore. I will not be touching any of this, but everything that says tried and true is my preset collection. Now it starts off in 0001 and 02 are pre-made creative presets. Some are more natural than others, some are more stylized, and some are for creative night photography. The creative night photography ones, the creative night portraits, are still kind of in the works. They're still going to be tweaked. It's kind of hard to figure out what works for creative night photography, but I found that these are the ones that I use most often when I end up shooting portraits at night. So we won't really be touching these all that much today, but it's broken down into those sections there. So you have these first 3 are pre-made looks, and then the second half is these micro adjustments. I'm going to edit every single photo today I'm going to edit them twice. The first is going to be with the pre-made looks, and then I'm going to edit it again with just the micro adjustments, the freestyle presets. All right. So let's dive in. The first few photos in this collection here are ones that I've taken, and then we're going to jump into, at the second half, it gets into to some of your portraits here. All right. So let's start off just to show you how this works. These is my good friends Jim and Alyssa. Let's just apply a preset. Now I've tried to make these presets as like one clickable as they can be, right? So like all you got to do is hover over, see what it's going to look like, and then hopefully that's most of the editing that needs to be done. You can see as I'm just hovering over that there's really not a whole lot to change unless you want to really drastically change the look of the image. But we'll just apply a preset here. I actually like natural look 3. So there we go. Really not a whole lot that needs to be done to this image. If anything, like I could leave it as is and that's good to go. I feel like maybe their skin tone is just a tad bit orange, but that is partially just the look I wanted. So let's just tone that down just a little bit. And there you go. Image is done. That's it. That's it. That's all you gotta do. So let's duplicate this image. And we will refresh. Now, what I want to preface here is that when you're using this preset pack, the first thing that you got to do is make sure that you have your exposure correct in camera and that you have your white balance correct in camera as well. And if your white balance is off, let's say I shot this image with a custom Kelvin of like 5,000, right? Or even if I was set to auto white balance, you know, that looks pretty good, but it's looking a little bit magenta to me. So I'm going to bump the magenta down. There we go. And maybe I'll bring up the white balance. Now, if you didn't want to do that here, you can actually do it in my freestyle preset adjustment section here. So let's go over to the left. My other goal with this preset pack was to make it so that you didn't have to touch a slider at all. If you didn't want to touch a slider, you could do everything over here in the presets. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come down to contrast and exposure. And your first step that you should take is this basic adjustment. Now this basic adjustment, apply it. It adds some contrast, adds some pop, some punch. It doesn't correct anything as far as exposure goes. It will not correct your exposure, and it will not correct your white balance. Those are the two things it does not do. So you apply that basic adjustment, and then underneath, you can go through and select, you know, you want to change your shadows up. So let's bump the shadows up to plus 90. Let's bump the blacks up to plus 75. Maybe we'll bring the highlights down to minus 75. We can bring, you know, the exposure's already at negative 20. We'll leave that there. Maybe we'll dehaze a little bit for an extra punch, extra contrast. And there you go. You're done with just the contrast and exposure. And honestly, I could leave it at this and be totally happy with this image. Totally fine. But if we want to take it to the next level, we want to adjust it a little bit more. Maybe the white balance is off, right? Let's say we shot this looking like this here. Doesn't look so good, right? Very, very blue. So under white balance, you can go down and you can hover over. This is what auto might look like. Oh, let's see here. Oh, it's taking a little bit to go. So like I want to go to sunset, right? That's what I want. I want to go to sunset, and that's looking actually a little bit warm. So maybe I don't want to use a pre-made preset here. Instead, I'll come down to 7,500 or even 6,000 and see what that looks like. 6,000 is still a little bit cold. So let's go to 7,500 plus 10. You can see it says 7,500 minus 5, 7,500 minus 10, 7,500 minus 15, and then plus 0, plus 5, plus 10, plus 15. Essentially what this means is this is 7,500 Kelvin as far as your temperature goes. And then the plus and minus is referring to the tint, all right? So if it is a plus, it is leaning towards the magenta. If it's a minus, it's leaning towards the green. Does that all make sense? So I tend to like my images a little bit more on the magenta side of things. It actually works better for skin tones. It doesn't work all the time. Sometimes you have to go into the green tint, but let's do plus 5 there. And there we go. You have all of that set. And I promise I'm gonna whiz through this much faster on the next couple images. I just want you guys to see how all of this works. Then the next thing you can do is come down to HSL adjustment. This is your hue, saturation, and luminance sliders. You have some items here, like if you want to reset everything from the HSL, just hit HSL reset. Blue and teal, all right, blue to teal. You can see his pants changing, right? It just moves that blue from a deep blue to a teal color. You can fix some oversaturated skin tones. So I actually probably didn't even need to do anything earlier on with this preset. When I applied it, I could have just adjusted this adjusted their skin tones by clicking the fix oversaturated skin. You can do a magenta fix. You can mute some of the greens, and there's different levels of muting. All right, so 1 is the least amount of mute, 2 is kind of a medium, and 3 is a lot of muting. All right, and this actually affects some of the yellows as well. You can see it in her hair. If I punch in here a little bit, you can see it in her hair when I go to mute greens, that it affects the yellows. If you want to go warmer yellows, warmer yellow greens, you can do that as well. So let's just do mute greens by 1. There you have it. I'm done with the HSL. Down to color grading. There's a few built-in color gradings. So let's do, you know, you have this 1, 2, 3. Again, 1 is the least amount, 3 is a heavy amount, and you have blue/orange, green/orange, and orange. So if you really want a warm image, which I tend to like for this at least, we'll do orange 2. And then you have some additional adjustments underneath that. Say you want to add some greens to the shadows in the camera calibration tab. You can do that here as well. So I'll do green shadows medium. I'll throw a lens correction on there. And then that is it. So that's my image. So I took this image from this to this without touching the sliders at all. So that is what my goal was when I was making these preset packs, is I wanted you guys to be able to see what the change was going to be before you actually needed to even move any sliders around. So you can do everything over here in the preset panel rather than having to go and kind of adjust with the sliders. So that's the gist. That's how this whole thing works. All right, so let's just keep moving on here. We'll move on to the next image. Again, I'm going to crop first, find my composition, and then I'm going to adjust my white balance. And actually my white balance looks to be pretty good. So let's first edit this with a pre-made natural preset. And I really like those filmic shadows. Let's see, you have some more vintage stuff here. So there's a whole lot of presets in here, all right? And you can see everything by just hovering over what it looks like. And nothing is really gonna change too much once you apply it. You might be able to get 90% of the way, and then all you gotta do is tweak the rest. So actually, let's go to filmic shadows here. That's looking pretty good to me. This image is done, in my opinion. This image is done right here. Maybe I could bring down the highlights a little bit, or bring down the exposure. So on my keyboard, I'm just hitting the minus key, and I'm bringing down the exposure. Now, if you want to be able to change a certain setting by hitting the plus and minus keys, all you got to do is come over to the basic panel here, and if you click on exposure, you'll be able to modify that with the plus or minus keys. Same with shadows. You just click on the word shadows, and now I can adjust the shadows with the plus or minus key. So we'll go back to exposure, since I really designed a lot of these presets to simply just be apply and then plus or minus with the exposure, adjust the exposure. Everything else should be pretty much locked in. So bam. Guys, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, please let me know. Let me know in the comments. I am more than happy to answer all that for you guys, all right? So let's move on. Let me duplicate this, and I'm going to edit this again with just the micro adjustments, all right? I'm going to move a little bit faster. Make the pop a little bit less. And you'll get varying outcomes, right? Like, the images won't look exactly the same depending on if you choose a preset or if you build it on your own. It just depends on the look that you're going for. Obviously, there's more options with the pre-made presets as far as looks go. So let's move down to 75 plus. See, that's a little cold to me. So let's You know, honestly, the white balance is probably good. Let's do, you know, let's actually dial this in on our own here. And I'm already catching a few bugs that I have, so I'm going to update some of these presets for you guys. I'm catching some bugs in the white balance here, so that's an update I need to do. I'm going to move this over to blue teal, I think. And then color grading will come in. Add a little bit of blue orange. Some lens corrections. Maybe some greens in the shadows. Bam, there we go. We're done. Before, well, actually, before, after. There you go. So that's the gist. Let's hop around here. We'll head over to this image. How's everyone doing today, though? I'd love to hear. Give me some love in the comments in the chats here. I'd love to know what everyone's doing today on this Saturday. Anybody have any weddings coming up? Anybody having weddings pushed back already? Kieran Holt said, I tried to upload RAWs from my external drive and they aren't. The folder is, but nothing within. Help. Any ideas on what I could try? Kieran, I think I actually saw some of your presets, or some of your, what's it called? Your raw photos come through. So let me actually see if they did. See new files. Jen says, I love the light and airy presets you made. Awesome. So glad you like them. So glad you like them. Kieran, I have your photos. They're in the Dropbox. I will download these in a moment, and we can add them to the Lightroom catalog here. I selected just a handful of photos that people submitted. If you did submit JPEGs to me, I'm not going through the JPEGs because they will not work as well with these presets, just because these are made for raw images. However, they will still work. They should still work on JPEGs, but they won't be like fully effective, right? In the same way that these would be on raw images. So, Jason Johnson, can we be best friends? Absolutely. And let's see. Jen says, I have 2 months off and then back at it in March. That's awesome. You know, some time off is good, right? Some time off is so good. We're in the off season here, and so time off is a thing, but also not a thing at the same time. So kind of strange. We're in the point where we're trying to really grow the education side of our business. I'm gonna apply the vintage because I like the vintage look here, and I'm just gonna bring up the exposure a little bit. Let's see what else you guys got here. Paige says, I have one on the 6th of Feb, and I have an engagement session today with some friends to add to some we took last weekend. That's awesome. Good luck on your shoot today. Sounds exciting. And Paige, when you're done, I'd love to see any images that you take, use, and edit with the preset collection. I'd love to see them in the Facebook group that we have, all right? I'd love to see what you're doing. Even if you're not using the presets, I'd love to see the photos you took today. Kieran said, I threw a few random photos up. All of my weddings are on the drive except for the most recent one. Can't figure out what is going on my drive. Maybe corrupted. Ooh, hopefully not corrupted, but whatever you sent, I'm sure will be fine. It's actually nice to be able to edit some photos that aren't wedding images. I do have a few car photos in here that somebody sent me, which is really cool. And I may get away from doing double edits here just for the sake of time. But look, I could just add the basic adjustment, and I could be completely done with that basic adjustment. So these really are made to just straight up work when you click the buttons. Like when you click the presets, they're just made to work. That was my goal. Let me add a stylized preset here. I haven't showed you guys any of the stylized yet. So let me kind of hover over some of the stylized, and you can see that these really are just like one-click actions, right? One-click presets. So this is Adventure 1, Adventure 2, Adventure 3, Adventure 4, Adventure 5, and then we get into the charcoal. And the charcoal is a little bit tough. It's hard for skin tones, but you have to use it on the right image, all right? So for this image, I actually like it a lot. There's varying levels of charcoal. So you have charcoal a little bit darker, some more balance, very deep shadows, and then you have some lighter shadows. So I really like just the regular charcoal for this one. Really love that. Let me go to this image here. And we'll start with Cinematic, Cinematic 2, Cinematic 3, and Cinematic 4. Now, the base edit for all of these cinematic presets are really, really similar. What is changing is the highlights, right? So you can see when I hover over each one, the highlights are changing as far as the tint goes, and some of the general just color grading of this changes. So right, this is a little bit more pinkish. This has some greenish blue to it. This one has some warm tones, and then this one is more pink. So it all kind of changes. Cold night. This is obviously for night photography. All right. So don't apply this to something you take in the daylight. Dynamic range is a good one if you really want to pull down the highlights and bring up the shadows. Frosted, I like frosted a lot, and there's a lot of different variations of frosted feels because there's a lot of different ways you can apply this. So there's varying levels of saturation, varying levels of kind of muted blacks, and all those things, right? So really just play around with these presets, and these again should get you 90% of the way. So I actually like frosted feels here. It brings out the orange and teal look, but there's also an orange and teal look, and this one doesn't actually fit all that well. The orange and teal preset doesn't fit all that well in this image. I like the frosted feels 2 better, so we'll leave it at that and we'll move on. All right, so let's move on to Alex and Jen's wedding here, and we could apply a stylized preset, but because it's in a dark church, it's in a Catholic church, the lighting isn't the best, right? So I'm probably not even gonna apply a stylized preset here. I'm just gonna apply a black and white filter, because I like black and white a lot for church ceremonies. They're just a little bit it's just a little bit nicer. There's a lot of different colors happening in Catholic churches. Look at all these warm tones, and then the lighting's not the best. Yeah, Catholic churches are difficult. And then I actually really like Light and Airy 1, and I like Filmic Shadows. Let's see what some vintage ones look like. The vintage presets are some of my favorites because I don't know, I just love the way they look. And even when you add some like grain, if you wanted to pair some of the pre-made looks, the natural presets and the stylized presets with some of the other adjustment presets, you can still do that. So if I wanted to select vintage and then add a color grade to it, you can pair some of these up. So I can add a blue orange color grade to the vintage preset. You can pair them together, which is really, really awesome. So this is where we were. That's where we got. Pretty fun, right? Okay, so let me edit this one without a preset, and I'll use the freestyle presets instead. So we'll do contrast and exposure. Plus 75, plus 75. We'll bring the highlights down. We'll bring the exposure down. It's also made for you guys to be able to edit quickly and not have any sort of issue with how you're editing, right? So you should just be able to apply these things pretty quick and have a really solid foundation for the rest of your wedding. And obviously, when you have a series of images like this, once you get your look locked in, just copy and paste it, right? Just copy and paste and make some micro adjustments as needed. But I've had a lot more fun ever since I've made these. I've had a lot more fun editing than I did before. I don't know what it is. It's a little bit more fun to click presets than it is to use the sliders for me. Orange. No, it's too orange. Let's go blue orange. There you go. Again, we'll add some lens corrections. We will add a little bit of green to the shadows. Bam, there you go. Perfect. Does anybody have any questions about these presets so far? I'd love to know what your thoughts are, what you guys are thinking of them. First impressions of these presets. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you guys are rewatching this, at a later time, let me know in the comments. Say like replay or something. I'd love to know that people are watching this after it's already aired. All right, so let's do a stylized preset for this. And let's see what charcoal. See, charcoal works really well when you have some oranges, like sunset peeking through the trees. it works really, really well when the sun is coming through. You can see it just completely change those yellows to a deep orange, and then it crushes some of the shadows so that it really pops off the screen there. So I actually love that image a lot. I'm gonna leave it at that. We have another image here. You know, I could apply the same exact preset and it would look dope. Let's do a different preset here. See, frosted works for these two. Frosted works really well when you have a lot of just neutral, when you have a lot of like neutral space. So you're looking at a lot of just sky, right? White to the sky. And then you have her dress and her veil. It does not work well when you have a lot of green, okay? When there's a lot of green tones, it does not work that well. So this is really great for like beach imagery, right? We can bring, let's go back to Jim and Alyssa here. I could apply a frosted fields for the beach because there's a lot of neutral tones, right? And I'll probably bring the exposure down here a little bit. A lot of neutral tones on the beach. Works here again. A lot of neutral tones on the beach. Really emphasizes the blue in his suit, but tries to keep the skin tones as close to realistic as possible. It's definitely a drastic look. It's definitely a color grade. But Kieran said, okay, they are queuing up on my Windows laptop. They just aren't on the new MacBook for some reason. Okay, so I'm glad you didn't lose your photos. That would have been really, really awful. I would have felt really bad. Would have felt real bad, man. Let's do a, let's do dynamic maybe, or orange and teal. Orange and teal works pretty well for this, actually. And honestly, we can probably bring saturation down just a bit here. It's a bit too saturated. So we'll just bump down saturation by -15. And that's it. Monica says I may need to try the charcoal. Might be my favorite. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about the charcoal look, but it is one of my favorites. And I kind of accidentally stumbled on it, right, when I was designing some of these presets, and it is a lot of fun to use. I love the charcoal. Now, I'm gonna be clear here. Like when I edit my clients' wedding photos, I wanna keep it as natural as possible. But I do always include some, like, not always, but often I'll include some more stylized imagery if I feel like the image calls for it. Now I try to keep my wedding photos as natural as possible, just because I want these to be timeless. I want them to really last for forever, right? I don't want them to look back in 50 years and look at the orange and teal look and be like, man, that looks dated, right? Do you remember when everybody was doing the what is it called? Like the color selection, right? Where you take the saturation out of everything except for the red in the rose, and the rose is the only thing saturated. Super cheesy, right? Super cheesy. And so I don't want people to look back on these images and say, man, this looks really dated. So I tried to keep these presets still as natural or as cinematic as I could. And that's why I'll end up using a lot of the natural pre-mades for my own weddings and my own imagery. But when I'm doing some more creative work, or the client wants a specific style, or, let's say I'm shooting an elopement and I know that the charcoal look is gonna work for them, man, like then let's go with the charcoal. If I know they're gonna love that image, then sweet, let's just go for it. Because this to me is this can still be timeless, right? Like, this isn't too stylized, but it still has that punch, that pop, that color contrast. So yeah, it's I tried to design these to be as timeless as possible, but to also be stylized enough to work for anything. The black and white looks fantastic. I love black and white images, and with her dress and her veil was so pretty. I love that. And you have a softer version too. And I think there's another black and white that I want to make that I haven't made yet. So I'm going to add that to the preset pack as well pretty soon. Let's move in here. I love this moment. This is cool. Let's see what you guys are saying. I never liked that color selection look. Yeah, no, I don't know why that was ever a thing. It's really, really awful looking. Jen says the color pop. I know, right? And she also said, I had a few from my bridals, my own bridals, and that was like 6 years ago. Yeah, it didn't... It was still in style, like, not that long ago. And 6 years later, it's already something that we look back on and be like, man, that's an old image. Remember when people did that? That is an old image. So let's do the natural look. I mean, natural look 1 looks pretty good. I just love some of these vintage ones, man. The vintage ones looks just, I just love the vintage. I just love the vintage. Even Adventure 2. Now, Adventure 2, you can see here, I'm going to bump up a little bit of the highlights. I'm going to bump up the shadows a little bit as well. Maybe some of the blacks. It's a little bit too contrasty to me. You can see that there's actually some grain in this image. There's some added grain. So if you want to just get rid of the grain, I don't know if you can see that in here in his skin tones a little bit. If you want to get rid of the grain, just come down under additional adjustments, click grain reset, and it should get rid of that grain. Unless I made up the fact that I had grain in there, but I'm pretty sure there was. Moving on. Let's go into stylized again. Dynamic range looks pretty good. Charcoal kind of works for this one. Again, there's too many neutral tones for charcoal to really pop the way it should. Honestly, there's just so many. There's so many choices. Let's do one I haven't done yet. Let's do pink mist here. I'm gonna crop. Whoa. There we go. Right there is good. And again, I'm gonna bump up some of these shadows. And I'm gonna bring down some of these highlights. There we go. This is the before, this is the after. The pink mist adds in just a slight pink highlight to all of your highlights and maybe some of your midtones. That's what pink mist does. I like that preset a lot. Let's move over to here. We're just hopping around now. We're just hopping around. I'll get to some of your photos in a moment. Actually, we'll move on. After this image, we'll move on to some of the images that you guys sent in. And before we do that, I'll download Kieran's as well and allow you guys to ask some questions or just chat it up in the comments here. All right, which one do I want to do? Natural looks pretty good. Now, in a mix of these photos, they weren't all on Sony. This image here was a Sony image, but some of the ones from Jim and Alyssa, all the way back here, were taken on a Canon 5D Mark III. So you're seeing these presets go across multiple camera models and companies. I like that look. See, I don't even have to change anything. Again, it's important to make sure that you get your exposure and your color right in camera, all right? All right, so before we move on to your images here, I want to make sure that I can get Kieran's photos downloaded. So let me go do that real quick. I want to get them downloaded and added into the Lightroom here. So let me do that real quick. If you guys have questions about anything, please let me know. Always happy to answer those questions for you guys. And actually, before I add Kieran's photos in here, Kieran, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I also really like that name. Kieran's a really cool name. But I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I hate when I mispronounce names. I have had my name mispronounced like my entire life, so I totally get it when someone mispronounces my name. I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing it correctly. So if I'm mispronouncing Kieran, please let me know. All right, so her photos are downloading now. We'll input those in just a moment. And guys, if you're watching and you haven't submitted any of your raw images and you want to submit, there should be a link in the description for you guys to drop those images into the Dropbox. Make sure they are raw files and not JPEGs. I won't be able to edit the JPEGs. I mean, I will be able to, but I prefer to edit the raw file so we can see the changes happening to a raw image. All right. Kyron. Kyron, I love that name too. That's great. Kyron, love it. Okay, I gotta put that in my memory here. Make sure I'm saying it right. All right, so I got your photos here. Let me import them, and then I'll select a few to work with. But before we move on, sorry guys, hang tight. Yeah, let me know what questions you guys have for me about all this. I'd love to know your thoughts, how I can make them better. If you have used them, if you're in my Patreon and you're like, this needs adjustment, please let me know. Very, very happy to make some adjustments. There will be updates on these, obviously, as the next couple weeks go on and I get some feedback, more feedback from people who are using them. All right, let me drop Kieran's in there real quick. Cancel. Sorry guys, give me a quick second. Paige, where is your engagement session today? Are you excited about the location? I know sometimes I'm not excited about locations when I go and shoot, because sometimes the couple picks the location and it just ends up, not being my favorite place. So I know getting excited about the location is always important. And how cold is it in Michigan today, Paige? It's pretty cold here in Pennsylvania, but I feel like every time I think of Michigan, I just always think of it being just a frozen tundra. All right. Her images are added, Kyron's images are added. All right, so before I get into anything else, I want to show you guys where you can go for more information on these presets. Okay, so let me share my screen one more time here. What is the button? This one here. All right, Kyron. Yeah, I'm trying to get that right. I want to make sure I get that right. I've said Kieran too many times. All right, so we are here in the presets.josiahandsteph.com page, and this is where you can get all the information on these presets. All right, you can hover over images to see the before and after. You can click on some of these and kind of see the changes to the imagery. All right, this is kind of where all of this information lives, right? You can also see some of the editing process. This will, and I'm just saying this so that you can get a good kind of a recap of what everything looks like without having to watch this video again. So you can see how the freestyle presets work. You can see some of the pre-made edits, and that these are truly as close to being one-click edits as possible. And then we get into how much this costs. It is $25 right now to sign up for Patreon. It's exclusively on Patreon right now because I want to make sure that you guys are not just getting presets, but that you're getting a good understanding of how to run your business, how to move forward with your business, how to grow your business, what to do, and how to do it. And so I'm putting these presets exclusively for now on Patreon. So for $25, you'll get all of these presets, and you'll get a whole boatload of content. And you can see over here at my Patreon index that is also it should be linked. It should be linked to the YouTube here, or it should be linked from the preset page. You can actually come down here and click on this button here to view the Patreon content index. But there's a whole boatload of stuff here, guys. You're getting all my email templates as well. You're getting access to live Q&As, getting access to exclusive behind the scenes. Obviously, you're getting the presets. You're getting some miscellaneous items and a posing and prompt app, along with my 1-week turnaround editing mini course. Under the miscellaneous stuff, you have consultation script, you have blog and SEO checklists, you have 83 blog ideas, client gift guides, bridal guide templates, contract templates, a whole bunch of items for $25 a month. And if you want to see what's coming next, so here's what we have in the works, guys. We have monthly giveaways happening every single month. This month we're giving away a Brevity Jumper Photo Backpack. Really excited about that. It's my favorite backpack that I've ever owned, so we're giving away a brand new one to one of the members. Obviously, a massive preset collection is what we're doing now. Live stream editing demos. There's 2 live streams every single month. One will be a live edit, and one will be just a regular Q&A where I just hang out with you guys and we just, shoot the breeze. We are doing a pricing mini course this year. We're doing a Pinterest mini course this year. We're doing some basics to video. That's the plan for this year. How to get published. Full engagement session style guides. Our full workflow you'll have at the end of the year, from start to finish, from the time we get an inquiry all the way to the very end of our process. You'll have every single step and how you can even just add it into your Honeybook workflow. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff coming. You'll also get some access to discounts for CloudSpot, 25% off on the unlimited plan for your first year. So you'll be able to upload your photos into a gallery service called CloudSpot and share that with your couples. You'll get 10% off your first year of Show It. You'll get 15% off any narrative published plan. And then there's a little CG Pro Prints, $10 off your first 16 by 24 inch canvas. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and it's all $25 a month. If you're kind of skeptical about this and you want to kind of see what Patreon's all about, you can sign up for the $9 a month and have access to some of those items. Not everything. Some of those items are included. But for $25 a month, you get everything, all the downloads, all the things, literally everything I'm giving you, $25 a month, including the presets. And if you just want the presets, you don't want anything else, you can sign up and then you can cancel before your build next. Okay, so billing happens on the 1st of every single month, so you can just pay $25 for the presets, sign up, download them, you can cancel if you wanted to. So that's how this whole thing works. All right, so let me head over to Lightroom again. We can keep on trucking through this edit. Jennifer says she's excited about the backpack. The backpack is so nice. I use it for everything. I take it everywhere. It is an awesome backpack. So fits a lot of stuff, but it's also still pretty small, which I love, right? And it's the most comfortable backpack I've ever worn. Really, Brevity, please sponsor me and send me free backpacks, because I will talk your backpacks up all day. They are some of the nicest backpacks ever. They're so nice. All right. So let's edit some of your photos here. All right. Let's edit some of your photos, and I'll let you know up front if I see anything as far as settings go in the top right-hand corner. If I see anything that looks a little bit strange, I'm going to let you know. Please don't take this as me, crapping on your photo. All right. But I'm going to let you know if I see something that is a little off, or maybe you should have had a faster shutter speed or brought your ISO up, something like that. I'm going to let you know, because I think having that feedback is going to make you a better photographer. So I may mention that, but don't take it the wrong way. Okay, this is just me giving you kind of some constructive criticism here. All right, so here we go. We got this bride and groom. I guess they're being toasted, right? Someone's probably giving a speech. And let's just do a natural preset here. Black and white could be nice, but you lose a lot of the contrast because there's not a lot of separation between them and their background. So I love harsh criticism. Well, maybe Kyron, maybe I'll give you some harsh criticism if you want it. I can't give harsh criticism. It's not in my nature, I feel like. This light and airy 3 actually makes the fence pop a bit, and I dig that one. I would say, if possible, next time whoever took this photo, this is a great image. It would be nice to have a little bit more separation from them and the background. I know you're shooting at 5.6 on a 300 millimeter lens, and I'm assuming that you were stuck, right? You had to use 5.6 because at 300 millimeters, that's what the aperture probably was. But it would be nice to have a little bit more separation from them in the background if possible. But great image, way to capture the emotion here with the tears. This is the same couple, and guys, this is really where the presets shine, because you have two options here. You can apply one of these presets, right, and have a pretty good outcome, right? You can have a pretty good outcome from one of these presets. You can see there's still a little bit dark here, so let me choose the light and airy 3. They look pretty good in this one here. But then I want to come down to the micro adjustments, the freestyle presets, and tweak everything even more. And actually, the blacks and the shadows are already up all the way. So we'll actually just bump up the exposure, and we'll bring down the highlights by 75. And then we can probably dehaze a little bit too. And then actually white balance looks to be okay. We can move to HSL adjustments. We want to maybe add some muted greens in here. Down to color grading, we want to add maybe a little bit orange, or maybe even some green. What does orange look like? See, I love that I can just hover over and kind of get a general idea of what all of this looks like. Blue, orange, there we go. Moving down here, I'm going to add a little bit of noise reduction. Just a little bit. I don't think it necessarily needs it, but it doesn't hurt to have it. And that's good there. So let me zoom in and kind of render this image out. And we'll take a look. Bam, there we go. I mean, that's a pretty good image right there. That's a pretty good image. Love that moment. So we went from, that's a good twirl shot, guys. That's a good twirl shot. We went from this to this in just a few steps. So that is really dope. I think this is Kyron's image. Sweet. All right, so you've exposed for the sky, which is great because we don't have a whole bunch of blown out details. It looks like the sun was right here though, so that's going to be a little bit blown out. So let's take a look at some of these natural pre-mades here, and you can see it brings up all the shadows in this area in some of these presets, which is great. And if it doesn't, all you got to do is head down to the freestyle presets and make those changes. So actually, let's see if I can add some more style to this. Let's see what the charcoal looks like. Charcoal's deep. The charcoal, so you can see it really crushes those shadows. So obviously these presets don't work for every single image that's out there because it really depends on how you're shooting. You know, orange and teal actually looks pretty good. Let's go back to these natural pre-mades. What do we got? What does vintage look like? Vintage crushes a lot as well. Oh, I just got to make a choice. I like this image a lot though. Where was this taken? Looks like, let's do Adventure 1. Let's see. I want to say Mexico based on the next image here. Jen says she's added a few, but I don't have to use them. Jen, maybe I'll add them in at the end of the stream here. Thanks for adding more. That's awesome. All right, so there you have it. There's the preset added. I'm going to come down here and I want to add a little bit of color contrast. Maybe add some greens or even some more orange to this image. So let's do orange there. Let's make some HSL adjustments as well. You can see now, this is the problem with Lightroom that I have. And I'm hoping that they make a big update later because I want to be able to stack presets, right? Because we've made a selection in the pre-made presets, the pre-made looks, when I come down and I want to adjust some of the blue to be more teal, it changes the entire look. So the nice thing is though, if you hover over, you can kind of see what it would look like if you were to move some of the blue in the window here to be more teal. So what that means is I can come down to my HSL slider, and if I wanted to adjust some of the blue, all I got to do is make that quick change, and there you have it. And then I've already found kind of the look I want, but I don't apply it. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of my thoughts on this. This is something that you're going to kind of get used to as you continue to use this preset pack. Let's see, lens corrections. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for me here. I'm going to brighten this up just a little bit, and then I'm going to come back into contrast and exposure and bring... I was going to bring the highlights down, but it doesn't go down far enough. So what we could do is grab a gradient tool, the the gradient mask tool, the graduated filter. If you click M on your keyboard, it'll come up. And we're just going to bring down the sky a little bit here and add some extra pop. Just so we can see some of that detail in the sky. Probably brought it down a little bit too far. There we go. Bam. Okay, so we've gone from that to that. Fairly happy with that. That would look pretty good on Instagram, I feel like. Moving on to their next image, Kyron's next image. It is in Chiapas, Mexico. Okay, cool. Love that. I've never been. Mexico's beautiful, though. We did, Steph and I did Cozumel, Mexico on our honeymoon, and it was such a beautiful place. Such a beautiful place. All right, let's do a... Ooh, look at that. That's cool. Let's see how... I don't know if charcoal will work because, again, it's exposed for the sky, right? So let's do dynamic range. We'll bump up the exposure here, and you have almost like an HDR photo here. All right. So let's reset this, and we'll actually come in, and we can do an orange and teal look. We could do a more cinematic look. I like this one here. I want to add a lens correction to my image, although it's not telling me I can. So let's see. What did we shoot with? We're on Sony. What lens? Doesn't say what lens. Okay, so let's go. Hey Kyron, any idea what lens you used to make this photo? It doesn't tell me in the lens corrections isn't coming up. We'll just add something until we see what it could be a Tamron maybe. Who knows? Who knows what it was? But there you go. You can add some lens corrections, adjust this, and there you go. Normally the lens 14mm Rokinon 2.8. Okay, cool. That's great. So let me go to Rokinon 14mm. And yeah, that's wide. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Cool. Okay, so we fixed that. We fixed some of the warping that's been happening too. So bam. That to that. It's just a little bit more of a mood, right? When you add some styled presets to some of these. You can adjust with the sliders if you want to. Awesome. Love that image. That's a cool image. All right. So again, we're going to come in here. We're going to crop. We're going to adjust some Kelvin. You can do that with the slider, or you could again go over to the freestyle preset adjustments and do it there. And before we do anything else, we're going to do that, and then we're going to add our preset. My go-to preset is the Filmic Shadows. It's the one I use for all of my weddings. It's what I start with. It's my base, in case anybody's wondering. Filmic Shadows is the one I use. But I do kind of hop around. I like the natural look too here. But it is a little bit, the highlights are a little bit too crushed for me. So I'm going to bring the highlights up to -50. There we go. I dig that a lot. That's a beautiful image. That first kiss at 1.4. At 1.4. I will say, I know it was probably pretty dark in there. You were using flash. I will say be careful with your shutter speed. When you're using flash, it should be okay because that flash should really freeze the image, but you may still get a little bit of motion blur. So just be careful when you're using a slow shutter speed like this. It probably would have been better for you to crank your ISO a little bit more and have your shutter speed be like 1/125 or 1/160 just to be a little bit faster. You're also a little bit better off here because you're on a wide angle lens, 24mm. If you're on like a 70-200 shooting at 1/60, you're definitely or most likely going to get some blur. That's definitely going to happen. I generally like to follow the rule of doubling your focal length. So if you're shooting at 50mm, having at least a shutter speed of 1/50, of 1/100. Sorry to confuse you guys. 1/100. If you're shooting at 200mm, then it would be 1/400. All that stuff. Shooting at a 100mm lens would be, or 100mm focal length would be 1/200. So that would be my suggestion. See, this image looks really good in a black and white. Looks good in filmic shadows. Looks good in muted greens. Looks good in natural too. I love these blue undertones that we're getting in there. And then we could come down here and we could bump some shadows up. We could pump some blacks up a little bit. Bam, there we go. Like that a lot. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to do black and white for this one, and we're going to increase the exposure a bit. And there we go. Just a quick little tip here, if you can. I know you're probably on an 85. You're on an 85 millimeter. You're probably pretty locked into your focal length. If this was a prime, it looks like it was since it's a 1.8. See if you can give them a little bit of breathing room on the sides so that you have a little bit of adjustment for cropping. Give them some breathing room. That way, it doesn't feel like they're like trying to break out of this frame, right? Otherwise, great image of bride and her. I'm assuming her dad before the wedding. There we go. They're married. Let us crop in here on the marriage license. There's something about natural look 2 that really works with this wedding. I don't know what it is. Natural look 2. Natural look 3 looks really great as well. Vintage looks dope. Let's see what a styled preset looks like. Adventure 3 looks good. We just got to bump up the exposure here. Now, these presets are made, it looks like, I think this was Kieran's, sorry, Kyron. I'm so sorry, Kyron. I keep saying your name wrong. I think this was Kyron's photo, and Kyron likes to expose for the sky, which is totally good. You guys can expose for the images however you want. I tend to expose my images to be for the skin tones, and so that's why a lot of these presets work one click if you're exposing for skin tones over exposing for sky. But again, all you need to do to fix that is, you know, apply the preset, and then increase your exposure. That's all you need to do. That's the cool thing. I tried to make these presets be as like one click as possible, and then some micro adjustments like increasing exposure, things of that nature. All right, so they're in the limo. Black and white looks good in here. Natural looks good in here. Vintage is a bit dark. Again, we could bump up some exposure as well. Frosted could even work. Let's see what orange and teal. Ooh, yeah, okay, let's do orange and teal. That looks good. It just feels right to me. Best way to keep white dresses white in different environments. Hope to God there's not a lot of color cast, but something that I like to do is try and take out some of the blues. This doesn't work that well when there's a lot of blue suits happening, but you can always take out some of the blue in the dress. That could work. As far as correcting, the white is so hard because it just picks up a lot of the color cast. So really my biggest tip for that is to really, ooh, why does this look so purple? There we go. My biggest tip for that is to just try and get your white balance correct. If your white balance is right, like let's move into here. I'll show you this photo. If your white balance is accurate, then the dress is going to look correct. Now, this photo to me is a little bit cold, right? You can see in her veil here, you can see these blue, you can see the blue tones coming up in the veil. But if all I did was fix the white balance, and I can do that, her dress looks pretty white to me. If all I did was select an area on her dress where there is like some pure white, even on her veil here could work. You can see that the dress already takes on a more natural look, and it warms up the entire image. And we could even tone this down a little bit if we wanted to. So we want to do that again before we apply any of these presets as well. Black and white looks great. Cool undertones looks great. Filmic shadows looks great. We probably can bring down the exposure a little bit, so let's do that before we do anything else here as well. Well, I guess it's adjusting some exposure, but filmic shadows would be my go-to for this. The natural looks amazing. Vintage might look really dope as well. Let's see here. Which one do I want? How does charcoal look? You can see charcoal does play with the skin tones a lot, so you got to be careful with using charcoal. I really like cinematic. Cinematic 3 looks awesome. Let's go with, let's see what orange and teal does. A little bit saturated there. It's a little bit too much. Let's do cinematic 3. We can adjust that. There we go. From that to that, we can even reset this and select, like, you can see, actually, you can see when I reset it, everything looks cold, and it might work actually. Natural look 3 really works with this color temperature. So let's select natural look 3, but then if we wanted to, we can come down to the white balance tab again, and we can, you know, if we select sunset, we can see what that looks like. And if we wanted to scroll through some of the custom presets here, some of the custom temperatures, we can see what 7500 with plus 15 magenta looks like, and actually I like that a lot. We can see what 99,900 looks like, and we know that that's too warm. So this is a good gauge too for you if you're kind of, if you know your image needs to be warmed up. You can kind of hover over some of these and say, okay, 7500 looks warm, but I don't know if it's warm enough. Then you can go to 99,000 and or sorry 9900 and see, you know, what that looks like, and you can say, okay, that looks a little bit too warm, so let's go back down to 75, right? So it's a good way to kind of get an idea of what your image should look like. So we'll leave it there. Let's head on over to this one here. That's a sweet image. All right, this is taken on Nikon, so let's see how Nikon plays with these presets. Let's use a stylized image here. There's something about this profile, the Nikon profile here, that has thrown me off a little bit. I've played with this image a little bit before. Actually, Adventure 4 looks really great. But there was something about this image in particular that really threw everything off for me every time I've reset it. So hopefully that looks okay. I dig that. That feels really sweet. We can even reset this again, and we can come down and do all of the work in the freestyle presets. 75, 75, minus 75. Let's bring this minus 50. We'll dehaze it a little bit. Then we can come into white balance, and actually, what does sunset look like? Sunset warms it up. I like sunset a lot. Moving down to HSL. Let's warm up these greens behind her. You can see it in her hair, that change there. Okay. Color grading, let's add I like the green. Let's add some green. Let's add some greens to the shadows again. You can see that changes the skin tone on them a little bit, so I'm not actually going to do that. And we'll lens correct, and then actually we can desaturate by just a little bit. And there you have it. So we did all that with both just the preset and with the freestyle presets. So the pre-made looks and the freestyle presets. Let's go on to this one here. This is a sweet picture. Again, let's crop. Natural pre-made. See, this looks good in the black and white. This looks good with cool undertones. This looks good with filmic shadows. You can see I think this is Paige's image. Yeah, it's Paige's photo. Paige, you exposed for the skin tone, so this is going to be a really, really simple photo to apply a preset to. And honestly, we can probably even warm it up a little bit here. So if we went to 6500, that warms it up a little bit, and we can see what all of these look like. Yeah, these all look great. Even the vintage, like I love the tones in her hair on the vintage look. So we'll leave it at vintage here. I really dig that look. Let's see. Checking comments here, guys, real quick. Love the use of the veil as blurred foreground. Yeah, Paige, that was a really, really good image. That's a really great image. Actually, a lot of the images you sent in, I really love. They're really beautiful. Sorry, I said Kieran again. Kyron. Gosh, Kyron, I am so sorry. I am really just dropping the ball, man. Dropping the ball. Okay, love long veils. They're the best, right? Those are hard shots to get to because the wind is constantly like taking the veil, and it just is. It's so hard. It's so hard to get right. So hard to get right. Okay, so this is Paige's image again. Paige, it's a little bit cold here, right? You can see that their skin tones are a little blue. So if we bump this up, we can bump it up to 9,000, and now their skin tones are actually looking a little bit green still, so we'll bump up some of the magenta. Again, you can do all of this in the white balance section here, but I just find it's a little bit quicker for me to just adjust the slider. Again, looks great in black and white, looks great in cool undertones, looks great in filmic shadows, light and airies. Yeah, I mean, these are, I mean, I could click muted greens and be done with that picture. Done. Like, that looks amazing. All right, let me make sure I reset this again. There we go. All right, so let's do a stylized pre-made here. Yeah, see, Adventure 2 looks great. Charcoal does not work for this. There's a lack of color here for charcoal, but the Frosted Fields should work for this pretty well because there's a lot of neutral tones. So let's maybe do... We could do this Frosted Fields 3. You could maybe do orange and teal. You could do a rust looking color, which I love the way rust looks with some of these houses in the background. Reverse rust looks pretty good to me, so let's do that. And then I can actually come down here. I want to add a little bit of color grading and see what that does to the image. Blue, orange, green, orange. Maybe I'll add a little bit of green. We can change some of the HSL up. Or can we? Because I think that'll actually change the entire preset. So it's okay to start with a preset and then kind of completely adjust your settings afterwards. Again, these are really, presets should really just be a jumping off point for you to find the look that you want. And as a reminder, presets don't make a good image. You got to be a good photographer. You got to be a good editor. You got to understand color. You got to understand composition. You got to understand all those things. So the more you can start to understand Lightroom, the better your images are going to come out to be. All right. All right. So here we have a night photo from Tony. Awesome. And I'm assuming there was a flash behind them. Really, really cool. Love this look. Let's go in and see what presets might work on this. Cold Night. You can see what Cold Night does there. Let's actually add. Let me see what the Creative Night Portraits do to this image here. You can see that it brightens up a lot of the highlights and really emphasizes those highlights. I like 4. Let's remember 4. We're going to come back to that one. Yeah, let's go back to 4. And then we're going to come down into the contrast and exposure section. We're going to bump a whole bunch of these shadows, blacks. We'll bring some of the highlights down. We'll bring the exposure up a little bit. There we go. And then we'll come down into white balance. And honestly, we can probably come down to, I bet you we could come down and make 4,500 minus 15. HSL, let's go into HSL here and see. That's not going to change anything. So let's move into color grading. The blue and orange. Yes, the color contrast. You can see all of these orange lights. Some of the orange on his shirt. Orange lights, orange lights, orange lights. So we want to do a blue and orange color contrast. Would look really sharp. So let's do blue orange 2. That's a really awesome picture. That's a great image. Now, this looks like rain, but it could also be snow. I'm wondering if it's snow or if it's rain. Let's see if it's going to render out here. I think it's snow. That's beautiful. Love that picture. External drive, the folders show up, but nothing is in the folder. However, when I plug the drive up to my Windows laptop, so it's a mix of. Kyron, are you using? You're using a Mac for the other ones, right? So I'm wondering if it's that your Mac's not reading the certain type of hard drives, like partition or something, right? Sometimes hard drives have settings where they only work on a specific type of operating system. So look into that and see if you can find something for that. That might work. It's not all the folders, only my wedding albums. Trying to figure out what the difference. Sadly, I think that's the problem. The external was already linked up to a Windows computer. I don't believe it's compatible now to a Mac. All right, so Jen just said what I said there. That's good. Yep. Sending them to a cloud, then open the cloud on the Mac, and then come down to that. Yeah, I would recommend the same thing. Look into Backblaze and see if you can. I think it's backblaze.com. They do cloud storage. See if you can upload everything there. You can also use Dropbox or something like that, and see if that works. But yeah, I would recommend going up to the cloud and then downloading from there. But don't delete any of your drives, obviously, until you have those files on another hard drive. All right, that's probably what the best choice would be. Always tough when files don't transfer the way you want. Why can't Macs and Windows just play nice together, right? All right, so this is from one of my weddings in July. Again, any of these photos, any of these presets could work here. It's just a matter of which one. I really like charcoal. Charcoal looks pretty good. Fun fact, this photo is what inspired the vintage preset. So I actually created the vintage preset based off of this photo here. So I like vintage 2 for this one. We'll just increase some of the exposure. There you have it. Filmic shadows looks good. See, I don't even need to do much to these pictures, guys, because I got it right in camera. So the quickest thing that you could do, the best thing that you could do to speed up your editing workflow is to get everything right in camera, or as close to right in camera as possible. That is going to speed up your workflow tremendously on the back end. Get it right in camera, slap on a preset, copy and paste, right? Charcoal looks good here as well. Bam. Never delete, Jen said. Never delete. Yeah, I just buy new hard drives. I don't think I've ever deleted a hard drive. I just buy new ones because storage is so cheap now. I mean, I actually have 3 orange lacy drives over there. I think I have 6 terabytes sitting over on the corner of my desk right now, along with like 24 terabytes like behind me here. So never get rid of anything. Just buy new hard drives. That's the way to go. So I really like Adventure 2 for this one. There's definitely going to be presets you like to use more than others. At least that's what I'm finding. I like certain looks better than others. It just depends on who you are, what your style is, what your vibe is. I like vintage green for this. So good. Love it. I like black and white. I think this would look really sharp in black and white. Could work in the filmic shadows as well. Light and airy. Man, yeah, they all look... Muted greens actually looks pretty good, so let's do that. We can bump up some shadows here as well. Maybe some of the warmth. There we go. Bam. All right. Whose image is this? Let's see. Leva. I get a new one for the year and mark them for the year. That's a good idea. To take it even further than that, you could get 2 for the year and have one as a backup, and or get a rated hard drive and do that as well. Although I would suggest definitely getting a secondary hard drive somewhere. That way you can back up your photos. That way, in case something gets stolen, you don't lose all of your data, right? All right, let's take a look at these. Light and airy too looks really great on this image here, but I can see that she's wearing a blue dress and that she has some very orangish red hair. So let's kind of see what charcoal looks like. Ooh, I love charcoal. Love charcoal. Love some of the cinematic. I'm interested to see what the orange and teal looks like. Yeah, that orange and teal pops, but I think the charcoal pops a little bit more for me. So let's stick with the charcoal here. We're going to bump up the shadows a little bit as well. And actually, I want to see if I can focus on her a little bit more. So I'll make a radial filter. We'll invert it. We'll decrease the exposure by 8. Bring some of the highlights down by 8. Maybe drop the shadows by about 5 or 6 as well. And there's that difference. It just focuses in on her just a little bit. Bam, I love that. That's a good image. Could also be a very adventure-ish image too, right? Like very, you know, very stylized, very warm looking. Like Adventure 2 looks really sharp. Anyway, a lot of these images can work with a lot of these different presets here. All right, so this is from a wedding I shot back in August. Once again, you can apply just about any preset to this. So let's just go with, the filmic shadows again. It's my favorite. Looks very fine art to me. And then I need to actually apply lens corrections. And because I use a Canon lens on a Sony body, it doesn't automatically come up. So I gotta go 24 to 72.8. Bam, there you go. Backblaze. Yeah, backblaze.com. Yep. That's the way to go. My husband got me a 4 terabyte external hard drive and a Seagate 8 terabyte internal hard drive for our PC. Holy cow, you have 8 terabytes internally? That is a lot of memory space in a computer. Holy cow. That's awesome. Let's see, how does charcoal look here? You can see what the danger with charcoal, right? Is like, let's take a look at his skin tones. He's not making the best face in this photo. I don't know why I selected it for this, but you can see just how orange this is. It's like it really does not look good. So I'm wondering if I adjusted this to be 6,000 if it would be better, and it is. So sometimes the issue is only your white balance. That is going to solve that in exposure will solve like 90% of your issues. So just make sure that you dial this in and you dial your exposure in properly, and then you can make your adjustments. All right. Vintage might look good. Light and airy looks pretty good. Let's see. Charcoal looks pretty good. Really just depends on the vibe you're going for. Really does. Frosted Fields looks good. I actually like Frosted Fields 1 for this. Obviously, again, so these are the two, these images here are from the same wedding. This is actually in the same room. Obviously, I would be editing all of these images from this set, from this series, to be identical. Like the settings should be the same as far as like the image look goes. They should be the same. The images all should look consistent. So for this purpose, I'm just choosing random presets just to show you guys how everything looks. But just know that when I do these edits, I am trying to make sure that everything is consistent and is the same. All right. This is also one of like the most beautiful weddings I've ever photographed ever. And I want every single wedding to be like this. It was completely gorgeous. I don't even use the PC to edit. I use my crappy 2013 MacBook that had 0 storage. You use a 2013 MacBook Pro to edit. I don't even, my MacBook Pro from like 2011 died on me in like 2015. I don't even know how you're still using that from 2013. I want to build a storage system you have, but I need to get more wedding monies to get the dock and more storage. Yeah, make that money first. Don't go into debt for your business. Make that money, pay it off. You know, it's I love my Synology NAS system, and the fact that I can just continue to add more and more storage over time. Love it. It's like the best system ever, and I love that I can edit. Like if I wanted to edit downstairs, I could edit downstairs. It's so great. Guys, tell me your thoughts. I want to know. Give me your first initial impressions on the presets, based on whether you've edited with them or what you've seen so far. I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. And yeah, that's really, I want to know. Really interested. I want to make these better for you guys, so any kind of feedback I get is actually really, really helpful. And if you want to see me edit more using the freestyle, let me know there as well. I tend to use a lot of just the pre-mades. It's a little bit more fun for me. But totally down to edit using some of the other freestyle adjustments as well. Alright, so I like this, but I'm going to bring down the shadows a little bit and the blacks a little bit and then bump up. Actually,
bring the highlights down too. We'll bump up the exposure. There we go. All right, this has the makings for potentially being very good with charcoal. It does. It does. There we go. We lose a lot of that blue though in his suit. So let me bring down the saturation here, and we'll bump up the blue saturation. Like that looks pretty sweet. Pretty happy with that look. Getting an iMac is also my 2021 goals this year. Yes, I cannot say enough kind things about my iMac. Now, what I really am waiting for is the iMacs with the new M1 chip. That's what I want to see. The new M1 chip that Apple released in their new MacBook Pros. Super dope. So honestly, actually, it's not a bad idea, Paige, to maybe look into the Mac Minis with the M1 chip, because I've heard of people like full-on video editors switching from iMacs to the M1s, the M1 Mac Minis, because they're just a workhorse of a machine. So take a look at that as well. That's honestly, if I were to buy a new computer today, it would probably be the Mac Mini with the M1 chip, just because I know, how crazy well it works for photo and video from what I've seen from other people online. So take a look at that. I tend to go for more of the contrasty, brighter photos, so when I was playing around last night, I had to bring down the blacks, shadows, and bump up contrast. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Was there a preset in particular that you were using for the light and airies, I guess, maybe? Was that what it was? I'm using the MacBook Air, and it's insane. M1. Yeah, it's nuts. The M1 chips make the computers just super hyper fast. Sorry, Paige. Yeah, which presets were you using specifically? I'd love to know. And you can always give me feedback to specific feedback on Patreon, or send me a message or something too. That's totally good with me. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Again, these presets are made to get you like 90% of the way there, and if you need to make some minor adjustments like bumping up shadows or things like that, then that's how it should be. No preset really is ever like 100% unless you're shooting knowing how the preset works, right? It was light and airy preset. Yeah, that's probably what it was. The light and airies are really light. So there's definitely going to be some contrast that is going to have to be added there for sure. So even if we selected kind of the more muted light and airy, we could totally bring down some of the shadows, and then we could even wonder if we can add some more pop or something like that. That totally works. But I feel you on that. Maybe I'll make another one or two light and airy presets that have a little bit more contrast and pop to them. Although that's where I would say, like, you're probably going to be looking more at using the natural looks or the filmic shadows, because those have kind of the light and airy feel, but with that added pop. Having trouble importing the presets. I have another preset with the same naming convention at the beginning, and they are getting mixed in with each other. I tried renaming, and they still came in with the same name. Okay, gotcha. That's good to know. Maybe I can rename these for you guys so that it says tried and true first, and then it gives you the number. Do you think that would be helpful? I think that would probably work. So I'll see if I can rename those for you, and we'll see if that works. That's good to know, though. That's good to know. I don't want you guys to. I don't want these presets to be mixed in with a whole bunch of other presets. That's not good. That's not good. I like the charcoal for this one as well. Let's see what some reverse rust does. Now you can see what rust really focuses on, right? It takes a lot of the green saturation out, leaves the orange, and it leaves the blue. So what really pops in this image is back here and this little man in the background. So we don't want to use rust, all right? We don't want to use rust. Dynamic range, I actually dig a lot for this. looks pretty cinematic from my perspective anyway. And then if I was cleaning this image up even more so, I would go in and I would use the clone tool to just get this dude out of there, including his reflection. What you can see happens though is that it also messes with the shadows. So we'll see if we can fix that real quick. Bam, the man is gone. We'll also get rid of this sign here. And I might have to bring it over this way. But bam, there you go. Cleaned up. So make sure you're getting rid of any random distracting elements in the background. And then you can move the presets around once they're in Lightroom. Can you create a folder and download directly to the folder? Creating a folder in Lightroom. Manage presets. I'm not actually even sure how to create a folder in Lightroom other than when you create a preset, right? When you create a preset, you go to group and then you can add a new group, which is what all of these are. I cloned those out of my image. Thanks. Oh man, I didn't even realize this was your image. Love it though. It's I love the symmetry of it. The symmetry of it is really, really stunning. All right, I think this is Paige's image. Yep. Stylized. Again, this image works on like every level here with just about every preset. Love Cinematic 4. Works with some of the frosted feels, works with the orange and teal, works with the adventure, works with the black and whites, cool undertones, light and airy. See, like the light and airy too, I love that. Love the way that looks. And Paige, you're probably right. We can bring down some of the shadows and some of the blacks just to add a little extra punch. Totally. You could also, if you wanted to, Paige, if you left all of those up, right? Where was I? Light and airy 2. You could actually just increase some of the dehaze, and that'll add some extra punch, and then you can add some extra contrast in there, and that should do it for you. So I love the way that looks. I think this is Monica's image as well. Yep. Mon, was this the proposal? I think you shot a proposal, right? Was this the proposal that you photographed? Again, filmic shadows looks dope. Light and airy works for this as well. Vintage could work as well. You know, there's a whole lot of options here. So let's just pick one. Let's pick Vintage 2. And then we probably need to increase some of the black so that it's not a completely black image here. Bam. It is the proposal you shot. Yeah, this is beautiful. Look at their boots, y'all. Their boots are, you know you're in Texas. I know you're in Texas when I see these boots. That or Nashville, right? Let's copy that preset. Let's copy those settings and paste it over here and see how it works. All right, so they kind of blend into it's a great image. They blend into the background though, right? So we want to make sure that we can separate them a little bit from the rest of the image. So this is where it gets to be a little bit more customized, right? Where you have to go into the sliders and actually do a little bit of work. So we'll increase some of this here. We'll increase the exposure, and then we'll grab the radial filter here, the radial mask, draw a little mask around them. We'll come down here, we'll invert, and we'll bring down some of the exposure, some of the highlights, some of the shadows, and maybe a little bit of blacks. And now your eye is drawn to them just a little bit more by creating that radial filter. So they don't blend in as much to the background anymore. And honestly, we can probably keep the image or the filter a little bit tighter on them. And there we go. That's pretty good. So that was the vintage preset there. Monica doesn't wear boots. You live in Texas, you don't wear boots. Jen will buy you some boots. There you go. Oh man, I just got called in for a Zoom meeting. Gotta run, but thanks for your help, and I'll finish the video later. Awesome, Kyron. Thanks for being here. I'll catch you later, man. All right. This is one of Paige's images. I love the focus on her ring and her hand while still having this detail up here, this forehead kiss. Again, this image should work with just about any preset. Just about any preset here. So let's go to the stylized. Again, let's look at charcoal. Charcoal works really well because you can see the contrast between the dark shirt here, the black shirt, and the orange of the field. So charcoal works pretty well. Cinematic should work pretty well. Paige, I love your imagery. It really is so, it's really adventurous, while also staying really kind of natural and, you know, not too out there, you know, but it's really beautiful. Let's, I just gotta pick one. There's too many options. Let's do Adventure 2. I dig that a lot. And I don't want the grain in this image, so let's get rid of let's reset the grain. That comes with Adventure 2. And there you go. Moving on. All right, this is Dave and Alexis. So engagement I shot not too long ago. Black and whites look amazing. You can see as I just hover over, like, all of these just work really well. My style of shooting is really backlighting, and so I think a lot of these portraits, a lot of these presets really work well when you backlight your subject and expose for their skin. Orange and teal looks pretty good. Here's them again. We can do a vintage 2, maybe a little bit contrasty, so we'll bring up the blacks and the shadows. You're welcome, Paige. Adventure 3. Yeah. See, it just all... I'm going to have a lot of fun editing this year because of this preset pack I made. That's all I have to say about that. I'm very excited to edit this year. Let's see. Maybe I'll build this out using the freestyle pack this time. Bring shadows and blacks up. Bring the highlights down. We'll bring the exposure down. We'll bring the dehaze up. Down there. My white balance is already correct. The blues could move to teal, that's for sure. Go down to color grading. What do these do here? I actually like the orange too. Additional adjustments, we'll add some greens to the shadows, add lens corrections, and there you go. Before and after. Boom. Alright, you can see what rust does here and what reverse rust does as well. I actually like that a lot. Orange and teal we showed already. Let's see. Natural look. You just want a natural image. Pretty true to life colors. You can crop it in a little bit. Bam. And if you want to go for something really moody, you could go one of these vintage ones, close up, keep it underexposed, maybe bring up some of the shadows here. You know, normally when I'm exposing for skin tones, like, I'd be all the way up here. But you really could, if you wanted to go super dark and moody here, you could keep it pretty low. Alright, so I messed up, right? This is how I shot this image from Mike and Annie's wedding. Very orange. Like, way too orange. So, she's wearing a white robe, so I wonder if I click on the white robe. Yeah, there we go. So, it's corrected the white balance for me. Let's keep that at green. And now I can go in and I can apply my presets. And the light and airy 1 looks pretty good. Filmic shadows probably looks pretty good as well. And so do the adventure presets. Even charcoal. Charcoal works really well with this as well. So let's do the charcoal balance. Moving on. This is her husband Mike, who's like a freaking Viking. Nicest people, man. Nicest people ever. Let's just do natural look 4. I really dig that. And honestly, now I want to come down and want to add some... I want to add some greens or blues to the shadows. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at the curtains when I hover over. I love the contrast in those curtains with the blue and the orange look. That is so pretty. So we're going to click Actually, we'll blue and orange 3. Moving on. I love images like this in black and white, but I really think that something a little bit more stylized could work for it as well. See how charcoal works on this. See, I love charcoal so much. Let's just zoom in here and just see if we can get this rendered out, because it looks like there's some things behind her that I gotta clone out. You know what there were? They were nails. There were nails in the wall, and they've become bokeh. That's what's happened. All right, so there's the charcoal. Before, after. Doesn't mess with the skin tones too bad. Obviously, it makes her a little bit more orange, but nothing that's overly, nothing that's overdone. I feel like you could always come in and kind of tone down the orange if you wanted. And there you go. Pretty happy with that. We're in the church. Let me hop around here. The church is good. I mean, again, you can just kind of add whatever you want to it, whatever preset. They all work. Sometimes you just got to decrease some exposure and you're good to go. These also work pretty well with direct harsh sunlight directly on them. Vintage looks good. Natural look. Adventure. So these should work in most lighting scenarios, but they do really shine. I've found that they do really shine in backlit environments. So love this one. I know I used the dynamic range preset for this, so that's what I'm going to apply. Let's move on out of my images here and move back over to some of yours. All right, this is Monica's image, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Their dresses are super pretty. Love those. All right, so let's take a look at filmic shadows. Makes those greens behind them pop. Light and airy as well. Although you can see light and airy does adjust some of the purple colors in the dress. So when you do use light and airy, you might have to come down here and adjust the magenta and adjust the purple. Those are two things you might have to do a little bit. I find that I have to do that a lot for bridesmaids dresses in general. Not sure why. Sometimes bridesmaids dresses just don't transfer right to my camera. Like the colors are just so crazy and out there that they don't transfer right sometimes. All right, so I really dig this picture as well. And you can see there's a lot of haze. So we're going to apply a preset. And then we're going to apply some dehaze. And we can just kind of see the level of dehaze. This is dehaze 3, which I believe is like a plus 30. But we may even need to add more than that. Yeah, there we go. And we can even bring down some of the shadows, highlights, and exposure. And I love that. That looks really gorgeous. And that dog is super, super cute. This is Paige's image again. Paige, you're killing it here. Now, I will say, I'm looking at it though, and I'm seeing the color temperature is 47. So I'm wondering if it's still a little cold. I can see some of that cold in her face. And so I'm going to go down into white balance, and we're going to come down to 6,000. I know 6,000 is too high. You may be fine where you are, come to think of it, Paige. Might be totally fine. Maybe we just adjust it on our own here just to bring that up a little bit. Yeah, I think you're totally fine. 45 or 4,900 normally wouldn't be the right call for this, but because we have so much warmth from this haze coming into the image, I think it totally works. All right, some detail photos. Let's add, this could work in black and white. That looks classy in black and white. Again, filmic shadows is a go-to for me, so that's kind of just where I default to sometimes. Vintage could work. I like Adventure 5. Let's do that. And I cropped this in real tight. This was originally a really wide image. So I want to bring the focus all the way down to the chair, and I'd probably end up getting rid of this guy as well. This little, I don't know what that was. It looks like almost like an outlet. Now, spend more work doing it than that. But I would get rid of that. Maybe that might have to come into Photoshop to get rid of that. But there you go. All right, so the first thing I want to do here is adjust the white balance because it's really warm. We're actually having a mixing of white balance here, right? So you have, it looks like there's a window over here on the left, and then there is some tungsten lighting up here. So we're going to have to kind of balance this out a little bit. That looks okay. Then you can come into natural look, see what the natural look, how that feels. Filmic shadows works. But honestly, what I would probably end up doing is defaulting this to a black and white and then cropping in even more to kind of focus on one specific person, because my eye doesn't know if it should go here, or if it should go to the girl here or here. Now my eye is immediately going to her, right? Or these two in the middle. That's a great reaction shot too. That's a great reaction. All right, looks like we're using some off-camera flash for this one from Tony again. This works with off-camera flash too, guys. This works with all sorts of lighting. All sorts of lighting. So let's move down here. Charcoal could work. Charcoal balance. Orange and teal even a little bit. Rust is really dramatic. Again, the charcoal. There's something about it. I just love the way the charcoal looks. All right. This is a beautiful image again by Monica here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring down my exposure here a little bit. White balance should be okay. And sometimes you don't even need to bring down the exposure first. You can always, I'm just going to select filmic shadows. You can bring down the exposure afterwards. That's actually probably a better option. But I'm finding that there's a lot of highlights still popping. So I'm going to bring down the highlights even more here. And see how that goes. And honestly, we can do that even more. Just to get a little bit of color back in. Dope. Love that. That's a great picture. I love epic wide shots like this. I really do. Composition's nice. They're in the bottom right hand third, literally right in the center of the third of the frame. Great composition, and especially with this leading line where it dips as well. So that's a great photo, Monica. All right, so we got car photos. Very different than what I normally photograph. I don't ever photograph cars, and I still don't because this isn't my car photo. But looking at creative night portraits, we can see kind of how these work on cars. So like I like number 6 a lot, actually. Number 6 looks cool. This looks like an expensive car, y'all. Looks like an expensive car. Charcoal could work on this as well. Actually, I like charcoal a lot. Charcoal looks really, really cool on this. So let's do charcoal there. And let's see if we can do charcoal for this whole set. So I'm going to straighten this out a little bit. You can do maybe charcoal lighter shadows. Love the contrast with the red and the blacks and the orange. It looks real slick. Now, one thing I'd say is to just adjust some of your composition here in camera, because I don't have a lot of latitude as far as reframing. Try and get your crop correct in camera, but overall, like, this is a really, really strong picture, I feel like. All right, charcoal may or may not work in this situation because of all the greens that we have. But, I mean, you could still do charcoal with the lighter, charcoal lighter shadows is the name of the preset. You could still do that here as well. We already have the lens corrections added. Oh, sorry, I wanted to use vignette. Let's get rid of that vignette a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, that really makes the car pop, right? Really makes the car pop. All right, some guy is playing a guitar. Again, you could add whatever preset you want to this. Adventure 2 looks great. You could do a black and white if you wanted. Filmic shadows if you wanted. Light and airy, muted greens. I like this look here. That looks pretty good. Maybe we'll bump the exposure up just a tad. There you have it. All right, we got a portrait session, it looks like. through. Which one do we want to use? Now, charcoal doesn't work very well in this case, and that's okay. Let's use let's see. Let's just build this up. Let's build this from the ground up here, all right? Whoops. Undo. Basic adjustment. Shadows up, blacks up, highlights down, exposure. Exposure down. Maybe dehaze. Actually, we'll do exposure down to 75. There you go. Let's see. Maybe we just do straight up daylight. Awesome. HSL. Let's do some muted greens. Color grading. Let's add some orange. There we go. There we go. Great. Love that. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Anybody got big plans for tonight? Mine is to chill on the couch. That's my plan. Gonna chill out. Look at that ring. Jeez. That really pops. It's a great ring shot with them kind of connecting up in the foreground here, or sorry, in the background in the top of frame. So light and airy works on these. Filmic shadow works on these. Vintage works on these. We're gonna go with a vintage, and we're probably gonna increase a little bit. There we go. All right, let me reset this here. Did you see that change? Look at how, before I reset it, look how purple it is. And then when I reset it, keep an eye on the white balance up here in the tint, because when I reset it, it's still the same, but the image looks drastically different. So I don't know if there's some profile in my Lightroom, in Adobe Lightroom for me that isn't installed, because I think this is a Nikon image. Yeah, NEF. It looks totally natural here, but when I reset images, or when I don't know what it was, but Filmic Shadows works, Light and Airy works. So these presets should all work on all types of cameras, but it's just strange sometimes that I'm seeing that. Watching football with the hubby. There you go. I've never said that phrase in my entire life. I probably never will again. But what game are you watching? Who are you rooting for? Who's your team? I know you guys are in Texas, so you guys must be big Eagles fans, I'm sure, right? I'm joking. All right. This picture actually inspired some of the charcoal vibe, if you were wondering. So yeah, charcoal it is. I love charcoal on this. All right, so here we go. Here we get into some difficulty, because look at this haze that's happening. Look at this haze. And honestly, if we reset this, I think it was a different white balance. Yeah. Look at the haze and look at the skin tones. So upon first look, it's definitely blue. It's a great picture. It can be a great picture is really what I should say, but it's definitely blue. So what we want to do, we want to fix the white balance. All right. First thing first, we want to fix the white balance. Let's bring this up to 5600 plus 10. All right. I actually am okay with the Eagles, and I cheer for them over the Cowboys any day. Okay, there you go. That's what I like to hear. I don't watch a lot of football. I watch the Super Bowl, but if you put a gun to my head and I got to choose a team, I'm choosing Eagles. All right. I am in the Philly area though, so that would be why. Anyway, we fixed the white balance already, right? So now we want to go in and we want to add these adjustments, all right? Now it's going to look worse before it looks better, all right? It's going to look worse before it looks better. What we don't want to do is bring up the blacks and the shadows, right? Those have already been lifted in our image. What we want to do is come down and decrease exposure, all right? And -1 exposure is not enough. So we want to go even further and decrease even more. We also want to dehaze, and honestly we can dehaze it even more than it's already been dehazed. All right, so now we can actually come back and increase exposure just a little bit, and we could probably now lift the shadows just a little bit as well, and we can add in some more contrast. So we've corrected it so far. We haven't added any sort of color into this image, any sort of colored edits, right? So we've just fixed exposure and white balance. There's been no color grading, no HSL, none of that. We've just fixed exposure and white balance. We've gotten rid of that haze. So now we can go down and we can add some creative edits into here. And let's do blue to teal. You can see that change happen in her shirt right in here. Oops. Right in here, it changes. All right. Color grading. Let's add some greens to this. Green, orange 2. Additional adjustments, we'll come down and we'll add some more greens. Green naturals, we'll lens correct. And there we go. So that was before, that was after. All right, we can probably bring down some shadows and blacks even more. There we go. Now this image actually really pops. Beforehand it didn't, but this image really pops now, right? Very contrasty, very punchy. And because I know the next image is also from the same set, we'll crop and we'll just paste the edit. Now the edit doesn't work here, right? Why? Well, because my settings when I copied didn't copy the white balance over. So what we want to do is we want to bring this, what did we have before? 5610. So let's just add 5600 and we'll add 10. And already that has fixed the image. Now it looks like the color grade is a little bit strong, so we're going to back off maybe a little bit on the color here. Maybe we can do orange, and that should do it. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good there. All right. So images are always fixable most of the time. Most of the time they're always fixable. Actually, you know what? Cool undertones looks pretty good for this. We'll keep it at that. We'll keep cool undertones at that. There we go. My uncle is from LA too, so I've learned to like the Saints. I thought you meant like LA as in like Los Angeles, but you meant Louisiana. New Orleans. You've learned to like the Saints. You're a Broncos fan. My team sucks this year. Go Lions. My husband is a big Saints fan as he's from Louisiana, so we'll be watching that game tomorrow. Awesome. Awesome. Now, both Steph and I, we don't really watch football. We will watch the Super Bowl, but we don't really watch football. I can appreciate it though. I did play football in high school for like a year, and I was awful because I didn't know what I was doing. But it was still fun. It was still a good time. I was definitely a bench warmer, but it was definitely cool to be part of the team, you know. I also don't think there were any cuts, so I probably wouldn't have made the team. Not in high school, middle school. The end of middle school is when I played. If I said high school, I was wrong. I did not mean to lie to you. I'm sorry. All right, we're getting to the end of our reel here of our Lightroom catalog. Also, these BMW shots are super cool. They work with all sorts of these presets too. Super cinematic looking. So I love this charcoal preset here. From that to that. So if you're shooting cars, these presets actually probably would work pretty well for you. Charcoal looks really, really dope on some of these shots. The cinematic ones look pretty good here too. Like I really like this color contrast. Love that. All right, 2 more photos. Guys, if you have any questions about this preset pack, please let me know. I would love, actually black and white looks dope. I would really love to answer any of your questions about this preset pack. And once again, to give you guys the rundown on how you can get this preset pack, all you need to do is head over to presets.josiahandsteph.com and take a look at this page. You can kind of check out all of these presets, see some before and afters. And then at the bottom, there is a sign up link. These presets are currently exclusive on Patreon. So if you want to sign up for Patreon, go ahead. It's $25 a month. If you only want the presets, sign up and then cancel before you're charged the next month. Billing is at the first of the month, so cancel before the next month. But I hope that you'd end up sticking around and we can connect. You have access to me essentially pretty immediately. I try and respond in the Facebook group and to messages as fast as I can. So any questions that you have, I'm here for you. Think of it as, you're buying me dinner or lunch once a month for access to me and some of the knowledge I have. And we have a whole bunch of stuff releasing this year, like Pinterest mini courses and obviously these presets, how to get published, my entire workflow. You also get some discounts, which also, by the way, pay for themselves. These essentially pay for the preset, for the Patreon. You'll save more money than you'll spend this year if you do that. So yeah, that's it. So there's two options. If you're kind of on the fence and you want to join the membership, $9 a month, light version, you'll have access to some monthly live Q&As, exclusive Facebook group, giveaways, the posing gallery, some exclusive discounts, but the presets are not included in that $9 per month. All right. The $25 per month does have all the stuff, everything. You can digital downloads, courses, new monthly content, all my email templates, and you're going to get all of the current and any future presets as well. Now, if you don't want any of that, you can just download for free 4 bright and fresh presets. Those are the natural look presets, right? All the natural stuff. There's 4 from that section that I've included in there. Sign up for the email list, and I will send those presets to you. So that is the gist. Does anybody have any questions about any of the presets or anything in the membership or the Patreon? I'd love to know your thoughts. If you don't have any questions, that's totally okay. I'm gonna be hopping off here in a little bit, but I want to make sure I answer your questions before I peace out. Tell me your thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think of the presets. We're gonna be going through. I know I'll probably end up talking to Paige, Monica, Jennifer Wax, like some of the other peeps in the membership, and kind of figuring out how I can make these better for you and tweak these for you. And obviously, if you're in the membership, you get those updates as long as you're in the membership. And if you want those updates, you find that I've updated everything, you can always sign up again. You'll pay the $25 again, and then you'll get those downloads. I just want you to tell Steph hi. She's downstairs, but she knows who you are, so I will tell her that Paige says hello. Absolutely. I'm sure she would say hello back. She's actually going to be recording a course with me, so you'll see her a lot later this year. She's teaching the Pinterest mini course, telling you everything about Pinterest and how to use that to your benefit. So it should be pretty good. But yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We have a lot of good stuff planned. So this live was a little bit less like the lives I normally do in the membership, just because and Paige and Monica and Jen can kind of attest to that. Normally it's very much like this, where I'm just talking to you, reading your comments and responding. Jen said, thank you for going over the presets. I love them. So glad you like them. They are really fun to use. Like, I genuinely have a fun time using them, and I know I made them, but I've downloaded so many presets over the course of the years that I just don't use because I don't like using them, and they just don't, because they don't work, right? And because nobody ever takes the time to explain how they work. So there will be videos coming on how to make these presets work. There's actually one in the Patreon already, in case you don't want to watch this entire video. You can kind of head on back to this is a 2-hour-long video. We've been live for 2 hours. Crazy. You can head on back to the Patreon, sign up for that, and you can see like a 10-minute version of how to use these presets. But yeah, so Monica said I was able to rename my other presets, so now everything is organized. Okay, cool. So, I love that you renamed the other presets and not my own. That is super generous of you, actually, because I was totally okay with you renaming, and I was totally okay with me renaming my own presets, but I'm glad you found a solution. So there's the solution. If you import these presets and you find the other ones you have already have the same name, you can just change the name of either mine or of the other presets, and it should fix it. So very cool. any other questions, guys? If not, I'm gonna hop off and take a break and catch my breath, I think. And oh, they were yours. Okay, they were yours, Monica. Got it. Yeah, guys, very excited. Oh, the other thing is on YouTube, I am uploading every single week this year. That is the plan. Every single week. I already have the videos shot and edited from now until I believe the end of March. So one a week until the end of March. A lot of these videos are going to be very much like quick tips, like this is what you should bring to enhance your detail photos, or this is 3 tips to get better ring shots, or you should be doing this one thing to make your life easier. A lot of things like that are small little things that you could do to make your business run smoother, make your work much better, because I'm not seeing a lot of that on YouTube. A lot of the photography channels I'm seeing, especially around wedding photography, are just big behind the scenes and not a lot of like the small little details. So I want to give you guys a lot of the small little details to help your business run smoother, make your wedding photography business even better. And then I will still be doing some behind the scenes. I will still be doing a lot of those extra videos. So behind the scenes videos are coming. Now that I have kind of a few months planned out and shot and edited, I can focus on some of those bigger videos, behind the scenes videos, and breaking them down and making them even better. So that is my plan, posting every single week this year. That's what I'm sticking to. Hold me accountable for that. If I miss a week, call me on it. I want to feel the pressure. I want to be able to deliver for you every week this year. So that's the plan, y'all. That's the plan. Again, if you want these presets, head to the description, grab them from the website link below, and I hope to see you guys in the membership and connect with you and be able to grow a relationship with each and every one of you, because that's truly what I'm about. I want to be able to connect with you guys, and I know that Paige has been in a lot of the live streams. I know that Monica has been. I know Jen's popped in from time to time, and so getting to know these people in the membership is just so rewarding. So also, Monica and Paige, I sent you guys the surprise gift, the book from our last live stream that you guys won. Not sure if you've gotten it yet. Hopefully the postal service is not still just running super behind, but I did send those out, so I hope you guys got those. And so yeah, that's cool. Very, very great little book that I will be diving into this week, most likely. So all right, guys, well, thank you for joining me. I hope you like these presets. Again, if you want them, they're in the link in the description. Sign up for the Patreon and you can download them today. I need to check my mail. Yeah, so hopefully that's in the mail for you guys. But download the presets at the link in the description. And if you have any questions about them, please let me know. Oh, Rachel says, just starting my photography business, and your behind the scenes videos have really helped me to interact more with my clients. Thank you. You are so welcome. So glad you popped in. More behind the scenes videos are coming. There's a whole lot more. I want to be able to deliver a lot of those to you, because I know that they're super helpful. There will be some exclusive behind the scenes videos coming only to the membership, only to the Patreon as well. So I will be giving some to YouTube and then some more to Patreon. So if you want some more behind the scenes, there's actually 2 over there, I believe, right now on Patreon, some exclusive behind the scenes. So sorry, this is just me plugging the membership, but I truly believe it will help you grow your business. It has a lot of info in there. So that's me. Plus, I want to connect with you even more. So anyway, thank you guys. I will see you later. Have a great rest of your day. Monica, I hope your football team wins. All right, guys. Paige, good luck at your shoot too.